Well, today I'm here to tell you that yes, in fact, they do still make vinyl records. And that is a question I'm asked pretty much every day. But there's a lot of talk now about the status of vinyl and vinyl records, and there's two popular narratives. And my role is here today is to share with you the nuances between those two major polarizing positions, which are that according to Neil Young, that vinyl records are just a hipster fashion statement. Thanks, Neil. And then the other swing is that there's a huge vinyl resurgence. And it has to be true because it has a Wikipedia page, right? So there's a lot more going on in between those two stories. And in the middle of that is also my story and why I decided to become a part of all of this. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually I don't have my slideshow clicker. So I'm going to point at you. Is that cool? Okay, awesome. So first of all, we want to talk about the history of vinyl sales and why the number one thing you want to do is not open a vinyl record store or open a record store. And you can and you can see that vinyl reached its peak in about 1975 with around $550 million sold. It's a pretty nice peak. And as you can see from there, it wasn't really a roller coaster. It was pretty much a downhill slide. And around 2005, it really hit rock bottom. Now, people who love vinyl will tell you that, it never died. And everyone's saying, oh, it's a comeback. No, there's no comeback because it never died. But it came pretty close. So you see where the little upswing starts happening around 2008 to where we are now. That's what everyone is rallying around about the vinyl resurgence. And when you look at it in this scale, you can really see that that's still a pretty weak little rally. And that's what I love about this chart. It puts it all into perspective. So currently, vinyl sales, and if you look at the entire pie, the pie chart, okay, well, just talk about it. How's that sound? Is that out of $109 billion spent on music last year, only 2.5% of it was vinyl records. It's a very tiny slice of the pie. In fact, it's lumped in there with buying other forms of vinyl or other forms of music along with cassette. So that little green area there, that's the area that I live in. And that's the area that I've come here to talk to you about today. The other thing that's really disheartening is, not disheartening, I guess, but is an obstacle to vinyl is just really exactly where we are with digital devices. And the amount of time we like to spend on our digital devices versus the amount of time we spend on a piece of stereo equipment. And even saying stereo equipment, it sounds pretty old-fashioned, right? So the average consumer spends 5 or 13 minutes a day playing on their stereo system, whereas most of us spend 681 minutes a day on our digital device. Granted, that is why we're multitasking, because we all do that, but that's a huge difference in behavior, and that's a major thing to consider when we're thinking about, is vinyl really going to make a resurgence? The other thing to think about is that free streaming. I mean, why buy it, right, if you can get it for free? And you can see that in 2014, free streaming was up 54%. And also, I love this number, 164 billion songs were streamed free last year. That's a large amount of songs. And so why would you buy it when you can get it for free? So, so with all those things in mind, I did the only sensible thing to me, which was to go ahead and open a vinyl record store. Because wouldn't you, right? So I want to share with you a little bit why I decided that I felt like it was important and why it was something that I felt like I had to do. That it was no longer something that the cost of not doing this was bigger than the cost of doing it. And that is basically, I feel really strong that there is an ageless desire for community and connection. And that ultimately, I feel like that transcends the need for technology. So a lot of the times I believe that a lot of the times we spend on our devices are really to connect with others through Facebook and other social media. So even the technology, the time we spend on technology is time spent connecting with others. And I felt that that's what a record store would do. And I also felt like that's what any good local store does, is connect people together and help them have shared experiences. The other thing that I felt like is that everyone likes to talk about the millennials, and I hate the idea of generalizing a generation because that's so general, I guess. But we all talk about how millennials don't like to buy things, right? But millennials will buy things when you give them an experience, and that experience should entail more than just hitting download or hitting pay or like go to your shopping cart on your laptop. And that's what I felt like my store could do, or really a good record store could do. So I felt that the Kansas City needed that sort of thing, and that's where it came in. And it's a place where friends can meet friends. So what does that community really feel like, I guess, is where I want to go with that. Is this where musicians meet musicians, where musicians sell their music, where musicians play their music, and they get to meet their audience. That's the kind of community when I say community, because I think a lot of times the term community is just thrown around. The community, an experience, what does that really look like? And it's when an artist walks in and goes, oh, there you are. I met you, like this engagement. And that's really what I think we all desire to do. And I also did it for selfish reasons, because I enjoy playing records and I wanted new records. And at the time, nowhere in Kansas City could you actually go buy a brand new record. And I was always bringing them home, when you travel, like you have to carry them on, clearly, and that's a little difficult to do. And I knew that others probably wanted that same experience. And at the end of the day, I had also decided that I wanted to throw a party every day for the rest of my life. And I feel like that's what I do. And throwing a parties are really about connecting people and maintaining an energy level and having really great things happen and interesting things happen. Not just great things, but also interesting things. And doing things that every day, something that you just didn't think you were going to do that day. That's kind of what a party is about for me. And that's what I felt like was important to do. So that's sort of my story, and I've already shared with you the story of vinyl, and I want to share with you a little bit about why I think that we are seeing this resurgence. And this resurgence is small, and I use this with air quotes, but it's definitely a small resurgence, but it's there, and it shouldn't be there, and it's happening, and that's why it's caught the attention of the media. And I want to talk a little bit about why I think it has caught the attention of many people. Actually, the number of people who are the average age of people who buy vinyl are 75% are under the age of 35. So that gives a lot of hope, I think, because a younger generation has discovered this for the first time. And so I think it gives a lot of hope to the future of vinyl. And I'll tell you why I think it's captured their attention. So first of all, I believe that we have been so disconnected through our devices and so forth, and through music, and through not listening to an entire record all the way through. Instead, we listen to playlists, or we hit shuffle, or we turn on random. And we've been so very disconnected that having the experience of actually taking a record, physically touching it, putting it on the platter, and then actually picking up the needle and putting it down, it makes us part of the actual. A lot of people refer to that as being part of an instrument itself. Jack White's Lazaretto sold like ridiculous amounts last year, and it broke all of the records. And one of the reasons, no pun intended, sorry. And one of the reasons that it did that was because it was a very physical record. It was a toy that you could play with. So a lot of purists out there don't really love that, but it absolutely is a toy that you can play with. It has holograms, so you can actually see what's happening as it turns. It plays backwards. Who doesn't want to see, put your needle in the back and it plays forward? Like, that's really kind of cool. And then to just reiterate how that you are actually part of playing the music when you play a record versus just hitting play on your iPod, is that it had a locked tracking on a track. So when you can either decide if you want that song to start with an acoustic version or if you want that song to start with an electronic version. That's pretty cool. That makes you makes you a part of the experience in a way that most other records haven't. So I think that notions like that or ideas like that are really engaging a new audience, and actually it's bringing it to life. The other thing that I think the reason that we're all sort of engaged again by vinyl records is the fact that we've all got, I wouldn't say enthralled, but we really love the makers movement as a nation right now. I think there's so many mass-marketed goods and so much ill-fitting clothing out there and things that break very easily, that when things are made with love and with care by craftsmen and artisans, that we appreciate that. And if we want to go back to the generational, the idea of what millennials like or what they don't like, we can think about how that that experience and owning less but owning better. And when you own something that has been screen printed and has different inserts, has different color of vinyl, and it becomes like a really, it's a piece of art. And so that's fun, and that's really engaged a lot of people and gotten them back into the excitement of owning a record. The other thing that I think is super important is to think about is how technology can actually work at the opposite. So everybody will tell you, the conventional wisdom is that streaming music is going to kill the music industry. But I'm going to tell you it's actually helped the vinyl industry. And the reason why is because now you don't have to just guess, am I going to like this? Do I want to spend $25 on something that I don't even know if I'm going to like? But now you get to listen to it in advance because you can stream it for free. And now what we're doing is we are owning less, but owning better. So we don't have to own everything we hear, but we're going to own what we love. And we get to find out what we love through the streaming services. The other thing that's really interesting about that, too, is that I'm selling a lot more back catalog, because in the past, if you wanted to discover, say, who Susie and the Banshees were, you had to do a little bit more digging. And now you can just type it in, and then it's there, and you can discover this world of music that you didn't know was out there. And so in that way, I think it's really been helpful to the vinyl industry. So why am I sharing this with you? Well, one, I was asked to, right? So I was happy to tell my story. But two, because I just wanted to reiterate that, you know what? If you buy a record, it can actually change your life. And I can think of many records that have changed my life, just like books. And I feel like that we got divorced from that with the playlist situation that we've all kind of grew up with. Well, I didn't, but you guys probably did. And then the other thing is that if you buy a record, you're going to change somebody else's life. So you're going to change the local artist, you're going to change your community, and you're going to allow that sort of thing to continue to grow and thrive. The other reason I think is that I wanted to share with you really something that I feel really passionate about, and that is that's really what I love about this, the Ditching Dogma. The theme of this talk is that when you decide to do something straight from the heart, and not because it makes sense, but because you just feel like you have to do it, it builds really great rewards. And I feel like that's kind of the story of vinyl, and how it shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't even have a Wikipedia page. It shouldn't have resurgence on the end of it, but it does. And because it's all made by heart and made by hands and plants. And so I think that's part of my story, and I just wanted to share that with you today. So thank you.